Following her remarkable audition on Britain's Got Talent, Susan Boyle soared to unimaginable heights of success. Although she wasn't an immediate frontrunner, her powerful and soulful voice captured hearts worldwide. Winning America's Got Talent, the champions, could have propelled her to even greater heights, with her bank balance surpassing $45 million. Yet she seemingly vanished from the public eye. Join us as we uncover the singer's journey and shed light on what transpired in her life.
I've always wanted to perform in front of a large audience. I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
She is a perfect example of never judge a book by its cover.
I can make other people happy by being the professional singer I want to be. I suffered a minor stroke and I thought that crazy to get back on stage, and I have done it. I'm very excited to present the new material to the US public. It's my way of saying thank you to them. Thank you for the support and thank you for the love that they've shown me.
Susan Boyle serves as a living testament to the adage, never judge a book by its cover. When the singer decided to audition for the prestigious British show, she was 47 years old. Had she adhered to society's arbitrary standards, we might have never experienced the soulful voice of Susan Boyle. As she took to the spotlight on Britain's Got Talent, her appearance, far from the typical pop star image, initially startled both the judges and the audience. The widely watched audition clip captured people reacting with skepticism. However, the moment Susan began singing I Dreamed a Dream, her powerful voice silenced even the harshest critics. That audition became a turning point in Susan's life. She went on to become a Grammy-winning artist, selling over 25 million records during a brief singing career. Yet, the world still remembers the harsh reception she faced on the Britain's Got Talent stage. Unfortunately, Susan's experience wasn't uncommon. She had been a frequent target for bullying throughout her school years and beyond. Her journey is a classic rags-to-riches tale, marked by a challenging early life and a very public struggle. Susan Boyle was born in Blackburn, West Lothian, Scotland, to an immigrant family originally from County Donegal in Ireland. Her father, Patrick Boyle, was a miner and a World War II veteran, while her mother, Bridget, helped support the family of 10 children by working as a shorthand typist. Despite the modest means, Patrick's influence, especially his passion for singing at the Bishop's Blaze when not working in the mines, likely played a significant role in shaping Susan's future career. As Susan watched her father singing with a melodious voice, it lifted her spirits and ignited a desire within her to perform in arenas and make a name for herself in the music industry. However, alongside this dream, Susan, still very young at the time, was living through her worst nightmare. Patrick Boyle, known as a family man, had been transformed into a bitter, harsh father by his experiences in the war, taking out his anger on his children. Susan bore the brunt of this abuse, enduring regular beatings, even for minor inconveniences. When he couldn't provide for the family, he lashed out at his daughter in frustration. The abuse persisted for years until Patrick Boyle's passing in 1997 after a severe illness. In the last few years of his life, Susan took on the responsibility of caring for him. Despite reconciling with her father, she couldn't shake off the trauma she endured, even as she found massive success in the music industry. Reflecting on this emotional journey, she shared how she managed to let go of her resentment towards her dad. Speaking about his passing, she said, "You have to accept it. That's maturity. It's not easy, but you have to let it go and replace it with a new self. That's what I've been focusing on in the past 6 months. It's difficult. I have a lot of good and bad memories. I've been coming to terms with it." Susan's childhood was undoubtedly challenging, but her passion for music never waned. Susan's journey through school was challenging from the start. Born into a large family with 10 siblings, she faced daunting odds. Her mother, Bridget, was 47 when she had Susan, struggling with limited resources. Susan's birth was perilous, and she experienced oxygen deprivation, resulting in learning disabilities, as she later discovered. Despite reaching the pinnacle of her career, Susan learned surprising new information about her diagnosis. It's no surprise that school wasn't a fulfilling experience for the singer. She remembered the relentless bullying she endured from both her classmates and teachers. In a poignant interview, she shared how challenging it was for her to thrive in an educational system that prioritized speed and quick learning. In her own words, "I struggled to keep up. I'm just not as fast at grasping things as others, so in a system that rushes ahead, you feel left behind, you know? This sense of falling behind was compounded by cruel punishments when she couldn't keep pace academically. The teachers at her previous school lacked professionalism and understanding of learning differences. Whenever Susan struggled with a test or assignment, she faced physical punishment with a belt. The constant bullying from her peers was equally painful. They labeled her Susie Simple and subjected her to hurtful insults both in and out of class. While speaking to the Daily Mail, the singer shared a deeply troubling experience from her past multiple times. She disclosed how bullying and physical punishment made her school days almost unbearable, describing them as the darkest period of her life. She explained that the bullying hindered her personal growth and added further obstacles to her academic journey. Thus, when she graced the stage of Britain's Got Talent, it was her subtle yet powerful way of retaliating against those who doubted her potential. And what a satisfying victory it turned out to be. Later, Susan would pen and perform You'll See for her debut album, a poignant anthem reminding her bullies that despite their cruelty, she persevered. However, her journey was far from easy. In 2011, the singer revealed a deep tragic event from her childhood that had remained unknown to the public until then. Aside from her undiagnosed learning disability, she also struggled with epilepsy. While the doctors had correctly identified her condition, her parents and teachers were uncertain how to manage it. Epilepsy isn't uncommon among musicians. Notable figures like Sir Elton John, Neil Young, and Lil Wayne also live with the condition. However, Susan's experience with the diagnosis was mishandled. She vividly remembers having seizures at school, providing bullies with more reasons to target her. During classes, she would faint, only to awaken to ridicule from her peers. At home, her parents would overly coddle her during episodes, and if her condition became too burdensome, she would be left to fend for herself. Asking for additional support often led to her father dismissing her as touchy. The assumption was that Susan's epilepsy stemmed from her learning disabilities, but that wasn't the case. Consequently, her condition went untreated. It's no surprise that Susan graduated from school without any accolades. With few qualifications, finding a job was challenging, especially with her undiagnosed learning disability acting as a barrier. Susan applied to numerous places in hopes of earning a decent wage, but either didn't receive callbacks or stumbled during interviews. She eventually landed a job as a trainee cook at West Lothian College, but it only lasted 6 months. She often had to rely on government training programs. Despite lacking a stable job or sufficient income, Susan found joy and solace in performing at local venues, which defined her musical career. However, a tragic loss would inspire her to pursue her dream that she'd previously not dared to chase. Despite enduring a challenging family life, Susan held on to her belief in the power of forgiveness and selflessness. Despite lacking much in her personal life, she openly admitted during her time on Britain's Got Talent that she wasn't a romantic, stating, "Never been married, never been kissed." Known for humility and decency, Susan made life-altering decisions. After her father's death, all her siblings moved out of their 4-bedroom console house, leaving the elderly, sick mother behind. Susan, along with her 10-year-old cat Pebbles, chose to stay. Despite later achieving worldwide fame and fortune as a musical artist, Susan continues to reside in her childhood home, cherishing the simplicity of her life. When not working odd jobs or caring for her mother, she dedicates her time to singing at her local church, where she still volunteers today, previously singing in the church choir. Nowadays, Susan spends her time visiting elderly members of her church in their homes, engaging in lively conversations, and sometimes even singing with them. Her mother, Bridget Boyle, played a significant role in encouraging Susan to pursue music, especially during challenging times. Before her appearance on Britain's Got Talent, Susan sent her tapes to various recording labels, television producers, and radio channels, hoping for success, but unfortunately, it didn't materialize. Despite facing disappointment and considering giving up music multiple times, Susan persisted, partly due to her mother's unwavering support. However, tragedy struck when Susan lost her mother, which motivated her to audition for Britain's Got Talent. During her unforgettable audition on the show, Susan revealed that despite singing her heart out on stage, she was grappling with the painful loss of her mother. Before her daughter could achieve her breakthrough moment, Bridget Boyle passed away at the age of 91, leaving Susan grief-stricken. Reports from neighbors indicated Susan's deep distress, as she refused to leave her house for 3 days, neglected food and calls, and adamantly declined suggestions to move on from her mother's house. However, in homage to her mother, Susan began to take her musical aspirations more seriously. Despite shouldering the responsibility of caring for her mother, Susan dedicated herself wholeheartedly to pursuing musical opportunities. Despite facing numerous rejections, including from X Factor, Susan persevered, eventually auditioning for Britain's Got Talent. Fans were astonished to learn that Susan hadn't even advanced to the audition stage of X Factor, likely due to her modest appearance and demeanor. Susan firmly believes that a musician's job is to sing, not to dress like a runway model. However, when she appeared on Britain's Got Talent, she faced a harsh, skeptical audience eager to see her fail at the one thing she loved. But that plan didn't quite work out, did it? Kudos to Britain's Got Talent for not replicating an X Factor disaster. Yet Susan's audition didn't start out on the best note. Firstly, the audience questioned her attire and whether she met the age criteria for the competition. Secondly, the judges didn't hold back their rudeness either. When Susan mentioned her aspirations to be as successful as Elaine Page, Simon Cowell visibly scoffed at her. She's the perfect example of why you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But as you probably know, Susan defied expectations when she opened her mouth and stunned everyone. One of the judges on the show, Amanda Holden, described it as the biggest wake-up call ever for the audience and the panel alike. Susan famously performed I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables. For Susan, the audition was a touching tribute to her mother. In her own words, "At the time, my mother had just died. I would have loved her to have seen it, but I believe she was there spiritually to see what was going on. She was right beside me." Despite the initial skepticism, Susan decided to persevere, and it's remarkable how her performance alone catapulted her to global fame. It's true that the audience at Britain's Got Talent had initially underestimated Susan Boyle because of her appearance. She was dressed plainly, but her extraordinary voice left everyone, including the judges, speechless. The dramatic shift from facing bullying on stage to receiving a standing ovation captured global attention in an instant. Susan Boyle skyrocketed to stardom within a week of her audition. Videos of her performances, including her rendition of Crimea River from 1999, became internet sensations, drawing millions of views. Despite facing health issues and exhaustion, Boyle's talent shone through, propelling her to success on the show. Although she didn't win the Britain's Got Talent trophy, coming second to the dance troupe Diversity, it didn't diminish her impact. Susan had triumphed in the most crucial battle of her life, winning public approval. Above all else, she had captured the hearts of everyone who watched her on the show. For many, Susan symbolized a beacon of hope that it's never too late to pursue your passions, and dreams can materialize at any age. It's no surprise that her debut album, I Dreamed a Dream, released in November 2009, was a massive hit. Breaking sales records in the UK and beyond, I Dreamed a Dream sold over 2 million copies worldwide within a week of its release, making it one of the fastest-selling debut albums by a female artist ever. Additionally, the album became Amazon's top-selling album in pre-sales. 6 weeks after its release, Susan Boyle's star power was undeniable. Her album had skyrocketed to become the best-selling record globally in 2009, with over 9 million copies sold. Billboard hailed the success, noting that I Dreamed a Dream had the best opening week for a female artist debut album since SoundScan began tracking sales in 1991. Following this triumph, Susan Boyle's name was etched in the Guinness World Records for various achievements. She clinched records for the fastest-selling debut album by a female artist in the UK, the most successful first week of sales, and becoming the oldest person to debut at #1 in the country. Her powerhouse vocals resonated worldwide, but it was in America where Susan Boyle truly made her mark. If that isn't the epitome of a successful musical career, then what is? She seized a golden opportunity to participate in another popular reality show, America's Got Talent, where she was warmly welcomed. Boyle, you can go back to your village with your head held high. It's 3 yeses. Gone were the day where Susan felt underestimated by those around her. The singer herself admitted that her success helped her fully embrace the world. She was no longer fearful, and instead of being a mere observer in her own life, She relished being the protagonist, and Susan's success continued. After the buzz surrounding her debut album, she released 2 more albums. The Gift hit the shelves in 2010, followed by Someone to Watch Over Me the next year. After a year-long break, Boyle returned with a bang. This time, she aimed to spread the joy of Christmas to everyone. Her festive album, titled Standing Ovation, The Greatest Songs from the Stage, was released in 2013. 2 years later, she followed up with another groundbreaking record, Hope, and in 2016, she released A Wonderful World. After dedicating herself to music consistently, Susan decided to take an indefinite break. Despite facing the challenges of old age and other health issues, it seemed like Susan Boyle's music career might have reached its end. However, as always, Susan Boyle has a knack for surprising her audience time and time again. In 2019, she surprised her fans by celebrating a decade of her career. An album titled 10 encapsulated the very best of Susan Boyle, and as usual, she surpassed all odds to make her mark on the music industry once again. But with triumph, there was sadness too. Susan's loyal fans couldn't help but notice that her heart-wrenching diagnosis had changed the singer drastically. Despite having a lot to offer, Boyle prefers to live a quiet life, far away from the glitz and glamour of creating soulful melodies. While Britain's Got Talent catapulted her to fame, the demanding training regimen took its toll on the singer. Although she cherished her passion for singing, navigating newfound fame was overwhelming. Following her appearance on the show, the relentless cycle of interviews, paparazzi scrutiny, and harsh criticism proved too much to bear. Despite her talent, Susan didn't clinch the win, and the aftermath left her hospitalized. The intense media scrutiny over 5 weeks left her emotionally and physically drained, eventually leading to a breakdown. Despite her exceptional talent, she failed to garner enough public votes, leading her to confront the show manager. Rumors from the set suggested that Susan had angrily thrown water at the staff member while expressing disdain for the show. Later that night, police were called to her London home due to her erratic behavior. Hours later, she was admitted to a mental health care facility. News of her breakdown quickly spread, along with revelations that the producers had disregarded Susan's fragile mental and physical health leading up to the final. Ofcom, the UK's media regulator, considered launching an inquiry into the show's prioritization of ratings over participants' well-being, but ultimately abandoned the idea. That experience taught Susan to approach her music schedule more flexibly, but it didn't seem feasible with her demanding tour schedule looming ahead. Nevertheless, the singer persevered, delivering outstanding performances for her fans while also focusing on her music. Susan faced another setback in her career in 2013, when she received an accurate diagnosis for her learning disability. It turned out that the initial diagnosis of brain damage was incorrect. Instead, she was diagnosed with Asperger's, a form of autism spectrum disorder. While the revelation was challenging, it also proved to be a blessing in disguise for the singer. For years, she dwelled on how a seemingly minor issue during her birth had caused lasting damage. Reflecting on her academic journey, she often felt unlucky. However, receiving an Asperger's diagnosis marked a turning point, leading to the right treatment for the first time. Speaking with The Guardian, the singer expressed how the label of being brain damaged felt unjust and harsh. She always knew deep down that she was just like everyone else, albeit with her unique way of doing things. Moreover, she hoped her diagnosis would foster greater understanding and kindness towards neurodivergent individuals. In the same interview, she remarked, "I think people will treat me better because they'll have a much greater understanding of who I am and why I do the things I do." Following her courageous disclosure, Susan received overwhelming support from both her fans and critics. People admired the singer for being genuine and open about her life experiences, a trait many celebrities avoid. Adding to this, she had to give up her only indulgence. In the same year, her love for eating chocolate during tough times became complicated when she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. While the diagnosis was timely, Susan had to adjust to a new lifestyle once again. Later, when the pandemic struck, she had to take extra precautions to shield herself from COVID-19. This further disrupted her music career. For over 2 years, she had to stay home and couldn't collaborate with others to create another remarkable album. However, Susan's life wasn't just about public support and successful albums. Things were challenging back home, too. In 2010, the singer finally bought herself a house with her hard-earned money. But her joy was short-lived due to a group of troublemakers who made her life miserable. They pelted rocks at her, attempted to break into her home, and even threw lit paper at her house. Eventually, she decided to return to her childhood home and generously gave her fancy house to her niece. Despite her success, she was deeply saddened by these experiences. However, it was her sister's illness that prompted Susan to take a brief break from her career. Before her comeback in 2015, Susan's sister, Bridge, tragically lost her battle with cancer at the age of 73. As Susan was closest to her sister, she was emotionally devastated by her loss and took on the responsibility of caring for Bridge's daughter. Bridge had been a pillar of support for Susan, standing by her during media scrutiny and keeping her grounded amidst her rising fame. Moreover, Bridge played a crucial role in supporting Susan during her tumultuous relationship with her brother Jerry. You see, Susan's success translated into millions in her bank account, and naturally, everyone, including her own siblings, wanted a share of it. Trouble arose when Susan chose to assist her brother Jerry by providing him with £75,000 to rescue his failing business. When her other siblings expressed discontent over this decision, Susan defended herself by revealing that Jerry had threatened to take his own life if she didn't provide financial aid. This revelation caused a rift between the siblings, with Jerry publicly accusing his sister of deceit. However, in 2016, Susan's emotional breakdown at Heathrow Airport brought about a heartwarming resolution to their feud, reuniting the siblings. Unfortunately, the singer's health struggles persist. In 2022, it came to light that Susan had experienced a minor stroke, further deterring her from pursuing music. This devastating news was disclosed after her remarkable performance on the Britain's Got Talent stage. Later that year, after 14 years since her initial appearance on the show, Susan was invited as a guest to sing alongside the West End Les Miserables cast. The moment was profoundly emotional, and amidst it all, Susan bravely shared, "It's especially meaningful for me. Last April, I had a minor stroke, and I thought it would be crazy to return to the stage, but here I am." Later that evening, she hopped on Instagram to share with her followers the rigorous speech practice she had to undergo to perform her cherished song, "I Dreamed a Dream." And you know what? All that effort paid off. Today, this talented singer is determined to keep her musical journey alive, despite battling numerous health issues. Susan Boyle's aspirations to release new music were put on hold due to a stroke, but whenever she finds the strength and motivation, she treats her fans to a few tunes. However, she mostly prefers to keep a low profile. Recently, she revealed that not having children is one of her biggest regrets, but she seems to lead a secretive life with an American partner whose identity remains a mystery, even among the most inquisitive media circles. Back in 2016, she mentioned to the Mirror that she was casually chatting with an American doctor and that it wasn't anything serious. However, things have evidently taken a different turn since then, as media reports now suggest that the singer is in a content and stable relationship. That's just one aspect of her life. Nevertheless, Susan Boyle isn't keen on publicly introducing her partner, nor does she have plans for marriage. Her boyfriend does appear to join her for special occasions, like her birthday. But that's all we know about her romantic life prior to her sensational appearance on the show. While fans are delighted for her, they eagerly anticipate new music from the singer. Susan continues to be a source of joy, so we'll simply have to wait patiently. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.